Hello, beings of light. Today's story is about an American named Rick R., and it is so astonishing that we will go straight to the account. I worked for the Georgia Department of Corrections in 1982 as a correctional officer. I worked on a constant 7-day shift rotation, and that week I was on the 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. shift. It was a cold December morning when I punched my time card and headed home. I was looking forward to this morning because I had planned a hunting trip on the 98-acre farm that bordered the Chattahoochee River, where my family and I lived. I arrived home and gathered my gear, trying to get an early start. My wife had already left for work, like most people with regular working hours. I usually called her when I went hunting, but in a hurry that morning, I didn't. I had about a 2-mile hike to my tree stand and arrived there around 10:15 a.m. My stand was about 20 feet high, facing a thick patch of pines on one side and the river below, with huge boulders on the other side. I tied off my rifle to be pulled up after my climb and started my ascent. When I reached the top and positioned myself to pull up my rifle, without warning, I heard a snap. I would return to this site many times to reflect on my life. During a visit with a friend, I measured the distance from the top of the stand to the boulder I landed on, 80 feet. As I began my fall to the river below, I saw the river coming up fast. I knew this was the end for me, and though it was just seconds before impact, it felt like slow motion. Many thoughts raced through my mind. My wife, my daughter, my family, and no one knows where I am. Would I ever be found? Then, darkness. I don't know how long this darkness lasted. Then something wonderful happened. I felt myself leaving my body. I was floating a few feet in the air above the river. I looked at my body with mixed feelings. It was bleeding from my mouth, nose, and ears, and I saw a trickle of blood underneath me on the boulder. While reflecting on the state of my body, I felt a pull and began to rise very fast. Traveling at high speed through the atmosphere, I looked back and could see Earth, such a beautiful sight, brilliantly lit. Looking ahead, I could see the planets. I thought, this can't be. Where is Jesus? I had never been told that something like this could or would happen when I died. The speed increased more and more. I saw other star systems and galaxies as I raced onward. I entered what seemed to be a tunnel, long and dark, but around me I saw streaks of light of every color in the spectrum. I saw a faint light growing brighter ahead. As I entered the light, I felt it all through my being. I was not afraid anymore. Suddenly, I was standing before a massive set of steps leading to a bridge or walkway. In the distance, I saw a magnificent and astounding sight. A city made of what seemed to be glass or crystal, with lights of many colors radiating from it. I had never seen such a sight. I began walking toward the city, dazed with disbelief. So many questions raced through my mind. I needed to know where I was and what was happening to me. I reached the front of the city and saw a double door that looked to be about 30 feet in height and width, shining as if polished. As I stood there wondering, the doors began to open. I stepped back and looked inside. I saw what appeared to be people walking about, much like in a mall here on Earth. These people, however, were dressed very differently. They all seemed to be wearing some sort of robes with hoods. I entered through the doors, amazed at what I was seeing. The inside was massive and seemed to be square in shape, with a balcony all around that led down to different levels. I walked up and looked down over the balcony. It seemed to go on forever. As I looked up, I saw many passing by me, yet no one seemed to notice me. Then one approaching me suddenly stopped. He slowly raised his head, and I could see his face. He appeared human in every respect except one, his eyes. They had no pupils but seemed to change colors in shades of blue. His hair was snow white. I wanted to speak, but before I could, he turned and pointed to a long hallway. Though we never spoke, I knew I was to go down this hallway. As if nothing had happened, he continued. I knew I had to continue as well. Something was beckoning me forward. I walked a long walk to the end of this hallway. I did not turn to the right or the left. I knew somehow that my questions were about to be answered. Again, I saw before me a massive double door. It seemed to be of some type of metal, perhaps gold, but I couldn't tell for sure. Suddenly, the doors opened. I heard a voice, not as we speak, but from inside me saying, "Enter." I did as I was told, and the doors shut suddenly behind me. For the first time, I was afraid. Total darkness, total silence. Then, after an indeterminate time, a bright light began to illuminate the room, becoming brighter and brighter. Someone was above me and in front of me. I tried to look, but was almost blinded by the light. I held my hands in front of me and could make out the appearance of a figure sitting on some type of seat. Then, without warning, it happened. "What have you done with your life?" The voice penetrated my very being. I had no answer. Then, to my right, I saw what seemed like a movie, and I was in it. I saw my mother giving me birth, my childhood, and friends. I saw everything from my youth up to now. I saw everything I had ever done before my eyes. As my life played out before my eyes, I tried to think of the good things I had done. I was raised in church and had been very active in church functions. Yet, as I pondered this, I saw a man in his car that had run out of gas. I had stopped and given him a lift to a local store about a year ago. I had bought him some gas as he had no money and helped him get on his way. I thought, why am I seeing this? The voice was loud and clear. You took no thought to help this soul and asked nothing in return. These actions are the essence of good. I saw all the people I had hurt and was shown how my actions had set in motion the actions of others. I was stunned. I had never thought of my life having an effect on the actions of friends, family, and others I had met. I saw the results of all I had done. I was not pleased. I looked on until the events ended. Indeed, I had done so little with my life. I had been selfish and cruel in many ways. I was truly sorry I had done so little. Then again, loud and clear, I heard the voice speak again. You must return. I did not want to return. I was content to stay, even after the things I had seen and heard. I have so many questions. I replied, things I need to know. I don't understand. You must return and help others to change by changing your life. Physicians will want to perform surgery on you. Do not let this happen. If you do, you will never walk again. You will be visited by one who will bring you answers to the questions you have. When I call you, you will come again. You will recover from all that has happened if you do these things. Look and see what lies ahead. I turned and saw the earth in turmoil, wars and death, terrible sights, cities falling and new ones being built. I saw the United States in a volcano exploding, covering many cities in darkness. I looked on and saw the collapse of our government as we know it, people killing for food and water, horrible sights. I saw what seemed to be a giant explosion in the Earth's atmosphere, destroying much land. I looked on and saw a new type of people, younger and of a peaceful nature. Few cities were left, but these people seemed content. It is time for you to go, I heard again, but I wanted to see more. Then the doors opened, and I felt myself almost carried down the hallway. I passed through the doors of the city and felt myself being shot through the tunnel. Faster I went, unable to stop. I entered the Earth's atmosphere and saw the river below. I saw my body still lying there motionless. Then it was like a tremendous electric shock. I felt my body jump. I opened my eyes and saw the trees above and the skyline. Oh God, the pain. I was struggling for every breath, choking on my own blood. I managed to roll onto my stomach. The pain was unbearable. I looked at the sky and saw the sun was lower than I remembered. I looked at my watch. It was 5:30 p.m. My only thought was how I could get help. I noticed my rifle was not far from me, still attached to the rope I had tied around me. I began pulling it toward me. I managed to grab hold of the barrel and pulled it up to me. I fired a shot about every 10 minutes, hoping someone would come. It was getting late, and I knew I wouldn't make it much longer, so I began crawling on my stomach, pulling myself with the stock of my rifle. I managed to crawl up a trail that ran down to the river. I crawled and crawled. The pain was so great I passed out many times. Through thick brush and briar patches, I crawled. I wanted to give up. I was so tired and in so much pain. I knew, though, that I had to make it at least to where I could be found, or so I hoped. I looked out in front of me and saw the road I lived on through the trees. I could hear sounds in the distance. Yes, thank you, God, I thought. I finally found myself at the road and began a feeble cry for help. I was too exhausted, though, and just lay there in the road. My father-in-law was returning from work and found me lying in the road. "It's all right," I heard him say. "Help is on the way." That was the last I remembered until I saw the lights inside the emergency room. A doctor stood at my feet. "Can you feel this?" he said. "Feel what?" I asked. He had been sticking my feet and legs. I was paralyzed. "We cannot help you here, son," he said. "We are sending you by ambulance to a hospital that can handle your injuries." Whether from the pain or medication, I was out like a light. The next afternoon, I awoke to find two doctors standing at the foot of my hospital bed. They introduced themselves as my attending physicians and proceeded to explain to me that I must undergo surgery at once. The bones in my back that were broken were putting pressure on my spinal nerve, causing paralysis. Then I heard the warning I had heard before. Do not let them perform surgery, or you will never walk again. I understood completely, but knew they would not. I told them I must see my wife and daughter first. My wife arrived with my daughter shortly after the doctor's visit. I told her what they had said. She advised me to realize they were doing what was necessary to help me. I did not know how to tell her what I had experienced. I tried to tell her it was my belief that I should not be operated on. Although she disagreed, she honored my wishes. When the doctors returned and I told them of my decision, they were very upset. I listened to lecture after lecture. "Okay," one of them said. "If you never want to walk again, that's up to you." Then they left. That night, I lay upon my bed and wept sorely. Was I insane? What was I doing? A light began to fill my room. "You will be well," I heard a voice say. Then it was gone. I composed myself and dozed off to sleep. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Then one morning, I felt a tingling in my feet. I was overcome with joy. I told the nurse I wanted to get up and walk. She stared at me and said, "We'll see." I knew I was healed, without a doubt. The nurse put a call into my doctor, and the next morning, he stopped by. "So, you think you can walk?" he said. "Yes," I replied. "Well, we will see." A few hours later, I was taken down to the physical therapy room. They carried me by bed down and raised me up to a vertical position. The nurse helped me in front of a set of parallel bars. I gripped the bars and placed my feet firmly on the floor. 1 step, 2 steps. My God, he's walking, the nurse said to the other. The next few days were hard. I took many trips to physical therapy and had numerous x rays done per my doctor's orders. My wife and family were all amazed. Yeah, I knew. I had been told the rest was true as well. My doctor was more amazed when he found no bones pressing on my spinal nerve. I use his quote: "This is not normal. It seems a higher power has done for you what we were going to try to correct with surgery." I have never seen anything like this before. Since that day, my life has changed, and I have been able to help others in ways I never dreamed of. I wanted to share this with all, as it is what has led me onward in my quest for truth, peace, and light. What a wonderful story, isn't it? Without a doubt, Rick's account scores the highest on the Grayson scale. It is a complete NDE full of meanings. Please subscribe to the channel and like this video to help us continue bringing stories like Rick's to you. That's it for today. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.